We're live, baby. We're live and on time. That's the best way. I'm going to adjust a couple things, check my audio. You guys sit tight. That's the best way. Starting off good. Everything's looking good. Let me real quickly, I'm just going to tweet this out because last time it drew in a few new folks. I'm getting better. Only counting on 19 years. Live now. Happy Friday to you. I don't know what it's like in your neck of the woods, but it was negative 20 or something, negative 10 last week. Then it was like 49 yesterday. Today it is 35 degrees, pouring rain. Hello. Good morning, Bernie. It was nice to see you. Today we're going to cover bringing it all together. Your business factory in a box. And I am literally going to be just 1 second off. I just want to post this stuff because I know there's folks that see my other streams and they're like, Spence, why did you not let me know? And while I'm doing that, one last thing. One of the things we're going to do today is we're going to take the various pieces because I am never more excited than when a plan comes together, and 2025 is shaping up to be the year, the year for all of the things I've been talking about in 2024 to actually happen, both for existing customers as well as others, because the politics and the availability and the WordPress stuff is just making it easier and easier for us to all do that. Okay, last thing, I promise I'm literally right there on my last little tweet or blue sky, just to let folks know to come on in. Okay, today, sorry. Okay, today, what I'm going to do is we're going to take you back to school, but I want to introduce a couple things. And as a premise, let me start out by shifting this a little slower, a little lower. Here's the deal. Understanding who your customers are and what they need is 99.9% of your success, because in the world we live in, it's no longer a barrier of entry. It's no longer a barrier of who you know. It's no longer a barrier of cost of technology. There really are not any longer any gatekeepers between you acting like a billion-dollar corporation or not. I could tell you all the stories. Kids, back in the day, I used to go down to the library. No, but in all seriousness, there used to be a day when producing content, making websites, drop shipping stuff, getting paid, all of this was hard. All bets are off, because when you combine the business world as it is with the tools and technologies that are available starting at free, you now not only have the technologies to make an entire business or industry of businesses, or to serve as an implementer or as a freelancer for other people's businesses, but you can do so in a way that I swear on a stack of WordPress CD-ROMs has never been easier, because right now you have the leverage of AI combined with all these companies like just throwing stuff at you for free or very low cost that works in combination with, you guessed it, your platform, your box. And so when we go back to the idea of like what businesses you're running or what businesses you can do for your clients, the box is a business factory. The box is everything inside of what I've been offering you from Minute Launch. I'm going to start calling it all Minute Launch, but the launch kit, right? Minute Launch has essentially everything you need for yourself or your client, from the software, the service, the hosting, and the ready to go implementations. In other words, you don't have to reinvent that living room at IKEA. You just go say, I want everything in that demo living room, along with the sensibilities of selling and marketing. And this is really a big deal, because this is the year that I am really starting to see for my clients as well as for myself. You are not selling the technology. When everybody has a baseball bat and a baseball, you are no longer the only kid in town everybody wants to play with, because they all have their own stuff to play with, their own soccer ball, whatever. It's only if you're the cool kid or the nice kid or the smart kid or the kid that everybody thinks is going to make them feel good about themselves that you succeed. So in the old days, maybe I'm using this metaphor a little longer, but maybe the kid who was lucky enough to get a soccer ball for Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or something, maybe they're the only ones that everybody wants to play with because they got the cool ball. Now everybody has it. So the way you're going to differentiate yourself in a world of robotic offerings and companies that have 25 flavors of the same thing is, hey, are you a person, a human being that can actually take a moment to listen, ask questions, learn more about this company that you're servicing, or provide a service yourself direct to consumer that you have the same thing? Because if you are, you're no longer held back by any of the excuses. Oh, it's too complicated. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, that company's not fair. They have a production company that works for free. Well, guess what? So do you. Uncle Spence, the non-evil genius, is now back to tell you that in 2025, you've got a box at $97 a month plus the other add-ons that, whether it's for yourself or your clients, has everything you need. And one of the things that's played itself out this week is I finally made the leap off of WordPress.org and worrying about all that stuff. I just disconnected myself from it because the raw materials are open source. Nobody can take it away from you. If you go to one of these SaaS platforms, one of these specialized services, the downside is you and your clients do not own and control it, i.e., a person who's angry at you, like one of those billionaire, trillionaire oligarchs, can just turn you off, can take away your customers, can ruin your life. But not when you don't give them that power and control. When you use the open source stuff, even Uncle Spence, not that I would, I can't do anything to keep you from that which I am sharing with you. And more importantly, I feel that the world that we live in is now based upon those that understand the golden rule and want to help others, because that is the thing people pay for. That is what people pay me the big bucks for. And in doing so, that is what's going to future-proof you as somebody who can make a livelihood or just do this for yourself. I think it's really important for us to remind ourselves that it wasn't just 2-3 years ago we were all locked in a cage and didn't know where the world was going. Before that, businesses were improving with the use of the internet, but it was really an unusual, like, subscription service, SaaS this, SaaS that. We now understand, everybody should understand, that with the AI and the other tools, there's no longer any rules. There's no longer any boxes. There's no longer any, like, hold on back. This stuff is moving a million miles an hour. So wouldn't you rather be the human being that has the keys to a factory in a box that you can put together, turn on for a client? And in doing so, you got Uncle Spence and the whole team here wholesaling it to you. Like, if you ever go to a restaurant and you go in their storeroom, there's these containers from a company called Cisco, you know, sliced and diced tomatoes. Now, you would hope at a 4-star or 3-star, whatever restaurant, that they wouldn't use that stuff, but they do, because it saves time. It can't be discerned. And in doing so, the bottom line is that restaurant owners can get an experience that is both manageable and profitable, but more importantly, they rely upon the quality control, the manufacturing, the wholesaling, distribution to keep their restaurants running. They couldn't do all the jobs if every goddamn thing they wanted to sell on the menu had to come from picked in a garden. I mean, there are restaurants that pull that off, but they also charge $500 a person per plate. In a most normal restaurant situation, you need to have some wholesale relationship with somebody that provides you the stuff and combine that with the logic and the recipes. Let's dive in and have some fun with some examples. I want to introduce you, by the way, thanks to the suggestion of Bernie, of a use case scenario that's now come up before we dive into some of the tools. One of the most common things that I had been asked about the community stuff, right? So when we're using Fluent Community in lieu of using BuddyBoss or BuddyPress or any of those things, was, how am I going to pull this off where I have a continuity between the things that people see when they're in the community and the things that they see when they're in the lessons, or the things that they see when they're in my shop, or the things that they see when they're on one of my webinar pages? And the thing that I've been able to do using this kit, which makes it, again, like IKEA, is to provide a way to kind of fill in the blanks between two existing Lego blocks to make all of the Lego blocks play nicely as a system. And in the process, get rid of tons of crazy stuff that just was ridiculous. So let's talk about one of the favorite tools. And by the way, let's do two things. First of all, I'm going to combine these concepts because on the one hand, there's the Fluent community. Notice at the moment I'm showing it without the header and footer and stuff that the customizer brings. And then the second part about it is coursework. So for example, if you're using LearnDash, my favorite way of delivering high-end organized content, which by the way is complemented by the courses and lessons that are available inside of the community. But there's a use case that Uncle Spence is going to help differentiate. And that is that if you have a client whose primary function is to have a factory where most people are paying to be in a community, and the stuff that you're offering is really low key and straightforward, doesn't require high-end management or automation or whatever, then using courses inside of a space is the way to go. And in doing so, as I'll remind you in a second with the Fluent Community Customizer, we can bring this in a continuity. So right now, if, for example, I went to my spaces and I wanted to do so, I could create a free or a public or a paid or a private membership space. And inside of that space, I could go ahead and offer very simple coursework, right? Very simple lessons. And in typically the way you would do that is you would just create it inside of here. And again, you can have enrollment, you can have payment, you can have all those things, but the basic course and lesson is very low key. It's just enough, not too much. It's just enough. Whereas with LearnDash, it's much more extensive. You can do like, hey, it's everything under the sun and more, which some people need. Either way, wouldn't it be cool if in addition to the mechanics of how these work together, we can make them aesthetically look the same? So let's dive under the hood. Under the hood, we now have two plugins that are included in the Minute Launch Kit. I am not selling these a la carte at the moment because if you wanted to just get the Minute Launch Kit, if you haven't done so, it's just less expensive to get the kit and get $6,500, $7,000 worth of stuff for $47 than for me to sell you one plugin. So if, for example, you were just get the launch, we can clear the card here. If you were just to get the Launch Kit bundle, if you don't already have it, $47 gets you something on the order of $6,500 worth of software, including all of my stuff, Launch Flows, Launch Kit, all of the other Minute Launch software and so forth. This by itself, even if you took it for a month, is a better arrangement. If you kept it permanently, just works out. So when we go back over here, we're going to install or make sure both of those plugins are turned on. Fluent Community Customizer and the new, happy to call it, Cadence Focus, which, by the way, works with more than just Cadence, but Cadence is the key theme that we use and I use in all my stuff. So number one, let's go to the Fluent Community Customizer. I see that the plugin is not here. So what we're going to do first, as always, is just make sure that we get it installed and turned on. Inside of Launch Kit, which, by the way, is also going to get an overhaul in the interface to streamline and simplify what you get. This is one of the reasons I left WordPress. I was trying to please too many masters by putting Launch Kit into the repository as a way to get people in free, but their rules and their methods are so ridiculous, it's not worth the effort. So I'm going to go back to square one and just make this the way I want it to be, because you'll always be able to download this directly, no matter what. Even today, if you just go to the software bundle, you'll always be able to get the Launch Kit Pro here for free, no matter where you're at and who you're at. You don't need WordPress for that. Okay. So let's just go ahead and turn on the Fluent Community Customizer. By the way, last week I was really excited because there was so many great questions. If you guys have questions, throw down, because we got into some great debates about style and some other stuff. Once I've got that in, we're going to just turn it on so that I can, first of all, make the Fluent Community part look like it's using the rest of the same stuff with the Cadence theme, right? Because why shouldn't it? All right, so what I do is I go to Fluent Community Customizer, activate that, version 1.4.9 as of this morning. Now we go into the customizer, and all we got to do is just say, yeah, set up the things I want to show. So we've got, I'm going to have to see what I had last left it at. We have the left-hand sidebar. We're going to show the top menu and the content header bars for now. The logo we're going to hide, and we're going to move the menu, over to the left and the profile over to the right and the profile to the left. And then I'm going to just use the show header and show footer. I don't have any custom CSS, but that's going to come into play in a second because I may dive into some CSS. Now, when I do that, it's going to take my default Kadence header and footer, and it's going to display them right where we just saw before. There used to only be the Fluent community. And now we've got the best of all worlds, because essentially we have the continuity of the two things working together. Now, I will advise you, sometimes like with these little drop downs, there's just little nuances in your menu. You just have to make sure that when you set up your menu, that you change the Z index to be higher than 99. I'll probably build a little something into the code to cover that, so don't pay too much attention. But for the most part, here I am in my community. And now if I wanted to go to a course, I could just navigate using the normal navigation to a course, which obviously uses the same menu. Now, here's where the new Kadence focus comes in. Normally, you have a choice of showing your lessons in a regular page like this, or you can use what's called focus mode. Focus mode, and ignore the red, gives you a really nice experience because it allows you to, good morning, Sufficio. Good to see you again. I remember from 2 weeks ago. Normally what happens is that this doesn't have this. So let's go on the back end into starting from scratch. If I go back over here to the Kadence focus, I'm going up and down and up and down. Let's turn it off first. That is red. Good morning, Sharon. It's the reddest of red. Let's first turn this off so I can do a proper before and after. And let's also get rid of this. I'm going to put this on the side for a second, and I'll show this to you in a minute. All right. So if we were to not use the Fluent focus, when we go to a page that is set up, or a course that's set up, it looks obviously like this. Now, if you're wondering what the heck are you talking about focus, if you go into LearnDash and you go into settings, you can monkey around till you're blue in the face and never be happy with all of the design stuff. Because to be honest about what's happening under the hood, Justin Farrenman about 4 or 5 years ago developed LearnDash with some $1 million spend, and they came out with this new LearnDash 3.0 theme. And at the time he did that, none of this cool new stuff existed with Gutenberg or otherwise. So it's really just a wagon being pulled behind the LearnDash horse. And it's just so rudimentary as to be ridiculous. One of the things they made was, I think, a good life raft called focus mode. And that is that you can have a distraction-free experience on the lessons. Watch what happens when I turn this off. That avoids the need for you to fight with a hammer and a pick. All of these ridiculous limitations on the design, or having to use add-ons from Uncanny Owl, like LearnDash Grid 3.0. Like, that's ridiculous. So let's see what the difference is. If we go back over to the site now, let's look at one of my courses. If I go into an individual course, this is not bad. But when you actually start to edit this lesson, you have a couple things that are working against you. First of all, in order to do the stuff that normally people want to do, like where am I in the course? You need a progress bar. You need a list of all the other lessons. When you start to put things into the page here and edit it, you start to see where the worlds collide between the pre-made template and the Gutenberg block editor and the Kadence page layout. When you want to sell something but not sell it inside of here, or you want to conditionally display a lesson, there's an infinite array of things that once you start goofing around inside of here, start to be a drag. Using focus mode solves the problem, and it solves a problem in a way that allows you to have the continuity of still being able to show the header. Because see, when you're in this regular, use the editor mode, you get a certain amount of control over, look, I've got my header, I've got my footer, and then I've got like the default page layout, which is Kadence in a what you call a floating or a boxed mode. But once you start putting stuff in here, it's a drag, right? Like it's a drag. You can't control where anything goes or how it looks. And then you got to bounce from one lesson to another. And remember, I'm saying like, yes, there's the next lesson, but what if I wanted to just show somebody like a menu of all the lessons? Lots of work, lots of work. So instead, the easier way to shortcut this is, why do we need all that? We do not need all of that. If we use the actual example of the Fluent Community, we don't need that because they're just very happily showing inside of a box. Here's a course, here's lessons. Tough toenails, guys. That's it. I'm focusing on the content, not the stuff. So by going into the LearnDash settings, we can bypass all of this drama by just turning on focus mode, set it to full width. Trust me. Sidebar on the left works if you're in the United States. If you're in Israel or somewhere where you read right to left, maybe the other way around. Okay. Do not use a logo. You don't need any of this nonsense anymore. None of it. Do be sure that you're in LearnDash 3.0 though, because that's where the focus mode exists. Now, here's where that difference comes in. Now, I can control the experience of what happens in focus mode, but this is where the plugin comes in because when I go into the lessons that are in focus mode, super clean, super neat. But now again, like with the Fluent Community, I'm lost. Where the hell am I? What website is this? And yes, it is true that you could put a logo in here, but that is not the same thing as the rest of the site. And how do I navigate to the Fluent Community from here? How do I navigate to the member area? Where do I go to pay? How do I do anything? It's not the same. Hence, Kadence Focus works exactly the same way. We have a box for above, a box for below. We also have something that will push your Kadence header to match the full width of the layout if you want. So let's do this as a basic. Just click, copy, paste. Turn on the full width mode if you're using Kadence. Click, copy, paste. Save. And now we change what is otherwise a disjointed experience into a fairly jointed experience. But there's still a couple tweaks. I took out the CSS. So there's a couple tweaks that I had in here this morning. I got to put back. My apologies. These will make it into the plugin today. Right now, they were just snippets that will allow the experience. Let's take off the red color. Sorry. I was answering a YouTube question that said, Spence, can I make it per course a different header style? And I said, yes, here's how. Here, without that, here is the unified result. I now have, good morning, Kurt. It is good to see you again since yesterday. I now have a unified experience. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? I now have an experience where no matter where I go, no matter what course I look at, or if I go inside of the community, I have a unified experience of the header and footer of my underlying theme that, by the way, as I'll show you today, opens up this crazy production line where you can customize with all the conditional things you want to do, which header shows up on which content for which person on which day because they bought which thing. All of the marketing automation becomes available to you. All of the Kadence styling, the mega menus, the crazy drop downs, the conditional sales tools, the buttons, all of that is now part of the other features, both on the community level as well as on the LearnDash lesson and course level. Notice as well how this ties together. If you do use the default course homepage and now you're using focus mode, it feels like you're in the same spot. Hello. Okay. Since there's no questions from the kids in the audience, I wanted to suggest this is one of the things that really gets me excited about where we're going. Why? Because we're living in a world where people with successful platforms own you, own me, own everything, and they're acting very badly, not with the golden rule. I'm not getting on a soapbox here, but I want to just make you understand the business proposition. I have discovered that the best way to fight fire is with love and more fire. Fiery love. That is to say, when people who have everything and have the opportunity to give you everything, whether it's in the WordPress community or whether it's in the SaaS companies, and they demonstrate that they are not in the same human experience. That makes it really easy for those of us who go around and show the opposite. So Uncle Spence has the new factory with everything you need at $97, including the ability to help you sell to your client your custom implementer services. You being a relatively smart person with a fraction of the time and experience that I have, I can give you a McDonald's franchise, an IKEA franchise, a Lego franchise with everything under the hood that nobody, including Matt Mullenweg, can take away from you or your customers. That nobody, including Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or anybody, can take away or violate your client's privacy or insult them. This is the way that we work together. And because it's built on the open source software and because the plugins are all the top line from the people that I have relationships with, you have full 100% ownership, control, and access at all times so that you can promise to your customer that I'm not getting you locked into a gilded cage. I'm not making you put your business into a place where your customers are going to be stolen by a DeepSeek and go to China necessarily. The idea is that my best way as a human being, a spiritual being, have a human existence, to be a capitalist in the new world is for me to show you and everybody else a way that I can give you a way to make money in an ethical way, in a moral way, in a way that helps other people and yourself. But really what you're selling is you. You're selling you as a human being who has access to now how all these tools go together because I've given you a head start. And when you really think about it, when you really ask your customers what they want, they do not want another infinite chatbot. They do not want another set of things that takes them a month or a week or a year to figure out. They do not want to hire some strangers that don't talk to them, that they have to trust everything to. They want somebody they can look in the eye, that they can talk to, that they can know is somewhere in the same world that they're living in, who has values and desires as they do, about owning and controlling their destiny and their right as a human being to live free from the fear that some crazy lunatic oligarch or billionaire or millionaire or whatever is going to just take it away from them. Because let me tell you, folks, remember I tell the story, what's old is new again, whether you go back to Julius Caesar or Marie Antoinette, or you go to Spence. 19 years ago, Ning.com, Mark Andreessen, the billionaire trillionaire now, had a $100 million company, LoudCloud, that made a platform, Ning, that invited anybody, including myself and another pilot, to build stuff. And after 13,000 of their customers said, Spence, you and your partner have built a fairy tale solution for us, they unplugged everybody. They shut everybody down. Those days are that's what drew me to WordPress and Mullenweg and all the other stuff. And here we are. It's a reality. I can now do a do-over, but with the built-in understanding and sensibilities to avoid the problems that are caused when you go into someone else's platform. Let's pause for this commercial interruption. Which media storage platform do you recommend, especially if I'm starting out, or is local media fine? And how would this contribute to the database size? I got to pay you a commission because you just brought up the next of Spence's glue together solutions, Media Hub. So here's the problem. When I provide to you, or you on your own get optimized WordPress hosting, I'll keep it like this for a second. We use Rocket.net. Hosting now costs nothing. You're paying for a relationship. And yet some hosting companies in WordPress still, with a straight face, charge $150 or whatever a month. WP Engine was one of them, ironically. They actually changed their pricing. But the point is, for a quality hosting, something in the range of $30 to $50 a month with concierge services and modern Kubernetes containers and all the rest, that's okay. Rocket's retail price is $30. Here's the thing to keep in mind. Video streaming is different than storage of static assets. Static assets, image files, GIFs, MP3s, sort of, definitely PDFs. Those are things that, along with the things that you're using for assets on the site, not just deliverables to your students, would be better served from an outside source. Now, what I had been talking about all the time was, how cool is it when I built and put together Minute Launch that I started from day one recommending, let's say, something like Bunny.net, because inside of LaunchKit is the ability to have remote URLs. But you can also see that if you go to any page or post, the Kadence already has that built in as well. So if we were to add a new page, instead of stuffing your entire website full of media and things that you know you're going to use again in 2 or 3 or 4 different websites, and then having to back all that crap up or look for it, wouldn't it be cool if Spence said for the same $20, you can just go ahead and set up the Media Hub library? Now, there's a product here. I have not put the actual thing up, but if you were to go to Fastest Hosting, I reference it here. Media Hub Client allows you to not just pay for bunny.net to store your stuff, but you can just use a singular installation of rocket.net and instantly have all of the benefits of what the WordPress media library does for organization. And yet you're pulling the assets from your own private library. Now, that should not be for video. Video needs a streaming service. So for whether it's Bunny or Vimeo or YouTube or Wistia or Amazon, you need a streaming for video. But for static assets, use your own media library. And here's how this works. If we look at any page or post, when you're using the Minute Launch tools, you can, for your featured image or anything else, you can use a remote image file with Kadence and so forth. I need to turn on the plugin for that. Let's go into the library, back to the LaunchKit. Let's see if we've already got the plugin in, and if so, we'll just turn it on. And this is remote, or let's just say media. I forgot what it's called. Okay, I'm going to first of all turn on the Media Hub client, and then second of all, I'm also going to turn on, you know how I love to work without a net here, kids. So I just have to find, I always forget the name. I think it's called remote. I can't remember the name of it. Let's go into the LaunchKit, and then I don't have to remember. It's something like use remote images or something. I cannot remember. Forgive me. I feel bad, but I'm only human, right? I never claim to be anything other than I am. Okay, there's Media Hub. Let's do images. Featured image with URL. Putting it in the old cabeza. Okay. Here, and by the way, let's also make sure when we turn it on, let's make sure we turn on Kadence Pro, which will also turn on a couple of these other options. So I think I have Kadence Pro on, but just to make sure. Okay. Kadence Pro is on. I have a duplicate of that other plugin, and then featured image. Sorry about this, guys. Okay. What I was going to say is, let's say instead of bunny.net, you use the Media Hub, which I'm going to show you how it works. Now you've got something that has the organizational tools from your remote library located here inside of your space. But I want to show you, for example, if you're just going to go to pages, add new page. Now you'll see with the featured image that we could set this from the media library, or we could use this option down here, which is featured image with a URL. Now, if I went to Bunny, I could go to Bunny and log in, and I have to schlep through all of the stuff. Sorry, I'm taking longer than I thought. I have to go find it. Its organizational tools kind of suck. It's great for the service, but like if I go to storage, for example, and I go over here to like media, it's not the best when it comes to like, how do I find stuff? I mean, it's okay, and I could copy the image, but wouldn't it be cooler if instead I just went into any WordPress site and I connected it to the hub of any other WordPress site that already had images in it? So here, if I go to the plugin for Media Hub library, which is right under here under settings, Media Hub, I tell it which WordPress site do I want to use as a source. And in this case, I'm going to use 1WDTV, which is my factory in a box for everything I do for my business, 1WD.TV. I'm going to use my username that is the owner of that particular site, or an administrator, Spencer at 1WDTV, let's say. And then I put in an application password. This is a password that I specifically set up inside of my user profile of 1WD to give permission for this to connect, which means that now this site has access to all of the stuff that I've stored in one place, which means that I can have an unlimited number of sites that either I own or I share with my clients that use all the same media. Let's test the connection. And it will tell me, let's turn off the notices hidden. It will tell me if I'm properly connected and whether I've got any assets. I have 131 pieces of media on my hub and another site. So now, bringing it back home, when I go to my media library here on this remote site, guess what I have access to? I switch to remote files. I go into this mode, by the way. I go into list view, refresh. And then when I do, those 170 items will become indexed here. And when they're indexed, I can then discern or segment out based upon just seeing those alone. So when I use this filter, remote only, I now have access to all of the stuff that I've made in a way that is so goddamn useful and immediately helpful, because I can use all of the tools. Here's me at camp, by the way, 10 years old. I can use all of the tools to just immediately grab that. So going back to, let's say, any of my other examples, if I was editing a lesson and I wanted to access this, now I'm using my own media hub that I basically own and control. Bunny.net can't take it away. And if I want to put in something, whatever I'm doing, like here's a row layout, here's a row container, let's put in an image, and I want to use a URL, guess what URL I use? Of my own media hub. And it's even easier too, because this is what you can use for anything now, even the featured image. So if I go to lesson featured image, I don't have to use the remote image. I could just use my media library, because my media library is now connected to the remote source, right? Here's my camp picture. This is part of what I'm trying to explain to you, that the circumstances of life are funny. And I love this. Synchronicity. Deja vu. It reminds me, I'm not Apple's Steve Jobs, but like he told a story about how in college he audited a calligraphy class and he learned about fonts and so forth. And that became instrumental in why the original Lisa computer had calligraphy fonts. And I think about, I get a little tingly, like as a kid, as an entrepreneur, actually in this picture right there, this is ironic, the synchronicity too. That's a picture of 10-year-old Spence at camp, the porn king of Camp Menominee. That is where I learned I was going to be an entrepreneur, because that is actually, picture me, one of my counselors, that was the good counselor. The other counselor went to federal prison. That was me with the counselors in the cabin, where I learned that my instinct at 10 years old of packing a bunch of my dad's Playboy and Penthouse magazines into a trunk and renting them to other campers and counselors led to a $600 profit and a call from the camp director to my dad. Mr. Foreman, we've got your son, the porn king of Camp Menominee here, and his $600 of ill-gotten gains. And my father, to his credit, said, what? Only 600? But that's when I was hooked on the idea. The synchronicity began of, how can I solve pain points for things that were important to me, make money by helping people? And through all of the years, the synchronicity of all the businesses I've done and the ups and the downs and the whatever really seem to come to fruition now, because now in the third trimester I'm entering into, I can be in a position to bring Gen X mindset, entrepreneurship, humanity, golden rule, love for your fellow man, to a world where end stage capitalism has turned ugly. It's bordering on fascism. And I feel like that is my manifest destiny as a human being, to help other people in a way that going to love them to death by demonstrating to everybody else a better way of doing it. And this is my way of doing it, where unlike the Ning experience and unlike the other things that taught me my lessons, no lawyer, no entrepreneur, no venture capitalist, no billionaire oligarch can take it away from me, take it away from you. More importantly, I learned from the first incarnations in WordPress. I'm not going to teach you how to become good salespeople. I made a mistake with 1WDTV teaching people how to sell. And I realized some of you don't like selling. Some of you don't want to talk to people. But what I can show you instead is a way to use the same things that I'm offering here. Okay. And I can just pass it downstream. I can give you ready-made solutions in a box along with the sales model, because all you're doing is taking the very same thing that I'm selling, the very same price model, adding a duplicate of you on it, plus being paid by me for your clients. And if you're using it for your own stuff, the tools in this box that we can do compete with stuff that would cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past. And hence the reason why today I'm saying your business factory in a box. I legitimately mean this is a way that I just showed you. Membership, marketing, automation, CRM, bookings, calendaring, scheduling, events, the ability to do any kind of media streaming, lessons, all of this owned and controlled. No crazy oligarch can take it away from you. From $20 to $97 a month. Plus, if you do it for yourself, you've got a concierge and a yellow vest here to make everything perfect for you, but not to tell you that you're awesome at selling stuff. You probably suck at selling. What I can do is give you something that doesn't need you to sell. It just sells itself. You read my mind. First of all, love the suggestion. Yes. And in fact, one of the next things on my weekend adventures at Spency's is exactly that. So inside of thank you for taking me away from my soapbox for a moment. One of the things about the media library, you already know it's coming, is so these assets come from a hub that I can own and control. Wouldn't it be cool, and I can do it, if different people on my site had access to different stuff? For example, if I wanted to share a library of PDF files, obviously I want to host them on my hub, but I don't want to give them to everybody. Now we can already do that with the conditional display blocks. So I promised Bernie and Ann and a few other people, I want to show you some of the conditional things that are available because I started today. Let's, for example, make sure that we got one of the tools that I use all the time, which is included, called the conditional, no, that's not what it is called. It is called, and by the way, ignore the warnings. This is because I have turned on debugging mode. So this is a LearnDash licensing error because LearnDash was being so fussy, doesn't like to be controlled. Remember I told you how Justin Fairman spent all that money, which is true, but unfortunately they haven't done a lot since then. So there's some kind of a bug in there that's throwing that error. I'm not going to futz with it right now. Just ignore it for the moment. Okay. When it comes to, I derail myself. When it comes to displaying content, let's say, for example, I created a page. I want to turn on the block visibility, which is an amazing free plugin, but we include it from Nick Diego. So it's already turned on. Let's say I go to a page, add new page, and I want to create stuff for somebody to see. Maybe it's PDFs or could be lessons and stuff, but let's say it's just stuff. One of the things you can do out of the box is make conditional display. So the first thing I would always do is I'm going to put in a row, and that way I can contain stuff. And let's give it a little background so you can see a little better what's happening under the hood there. Okay. Now inside of this, let's just say, for example, I'm going to put in just some images like I just did, right? I'll put in the Spence camp image. And let's just scale this down a little bit. Okay. How do I protect this right now? Well, first of all, the ways we can protect it with the factory in a box is a multitude. Number one, is somebody logged in or logged out? Is it public or private? So let's say this was a page a page for public. A public page, no big deal. Only if logged in. If we want to protect it so it's only logged in, here's what we do. Kadence, WP Fusion, block visibility all provide a method. Here's what I do. I would select the row that holds this. One way of doing it is just to go to Kadence when you're in Pro, and you go, I believe, under visibility settings, and you will see right here, Bernie, pay attention, Bernie, this is for you. Visibility settings on the block, hide from logged out users. That means that if I was logged out, I would not see anything inside of this row. You could also apply it to the image itself. Okay. Number two, you could use some other tool like block visibility. Very good. Thank you. High fives. High fives. Over there, I think it might be wine o'clock. So I appreciate it. It's coffee o'clock here. Bernie and I have a little drinking joke. Row layout. If I go over here, I can also use. Okay, here's a good question. Bernie is asking, and it is true, some things for Kadence only apply at the container or block level. So watch this. If I go row layout advanced, visibility settings works. If I go to section, I think it still works. No, it does not. See? And definitely with Kadence, if you go to the block, I'm quite sure it does not work. It doesn't even show up as an option. That's why I'm going to show you when you build this, the rows act as containers, Tupperware containers, Matryoshka dolls for doing this kind of stuff. So sometimes a row can be embedded in a row. For example, let's say this outer row wasn't what you were protecting. What you could do is make a section and then put inside of here as one of your methods. It's a little wordy, but you could go ahead and put a row in here and then drop your high five image into there. Now with that row inside of a row, guess what you do? Hide that from logged out users. Ta-da. So that's one of the ways of going about it. Bernie, you are correct. Here's another way of going about it. Another way to go about it is with, if we go up here, we always have the ability to use WP Fusion or Fluent CRM as a wrapper. So, and I mean wrapper, not in like LL Cool J. I mean as in a container wrapper. So let's take this out of the row and let's use one of those. If you're using WP Fusion, we say add before, and we go ahead and say WP Fusion. Now, here's an important limitation on this. WP Fusion does have this built in. Look, it's logged in or logged out. But to be fair, I don't think I would use this versus the wrapper as a way of doing that. I mean, it's convenient, but that's too much work. Which part is too much work? I'm not sure what you're talking about, because I'm getting to your point. My point I'm getting to is there are ways to protect stuff, but what I intend to do for the Media Hub library is to give you an option that's very similar to this, that allows you to just say, this stuff is available in the library if they have this tag or that tag or the other tag. So hang with me. Don't get too impatient too soon. The wrapper is another way of protecting stuff. You can also, alternative to that, apply tags, which by the way is relevant to what I'm saying. So if you go over here to the WP Fusion wrapper, here's where it's important. You can protect this content by requiring a tag. Why is that relevant to what I'm talking about with the Media Hub library? Well, just imagine I've got my membership site over here, there, or anywhere. It talks to all the sites through the hub capability. If somebody has paid me to get a tag, that can unlock some or all of a folder or a segment of what's in the Media Hub. So let's say I have 20 PDFs and I put a thing that says need a tag of lesson 1. I will, I think, be able to deliver that those things can be just embedded in here by a simple short code, and it'll just go and spit those out, or at least give access to it. Okay. But just to finish this up, because somebody had asked about it, we can do a similar thing to this with the Fluent CRM if you've got that on a local site, not a remote site. And I kind of like the way it works. It's called their conditional section. And the way that it works is very similar to WP Fusion, except it's just singular. So here, if I click on the block, show this if they have the tag, don't have the tag, is logged in, is not logged in. Okay. So it's pretty simple and it's very singular, right? So in other words, if I want to do something other than this picture for logged out people, I would have to just make another one of these that has a different rule, whereas WP Fusion has sort of an either or. Okay. All right. When it's all said and done, if I do make this other stuff available, what's going to happen is if we were to go into, like, let's go to spencerforman.com or something. If we were to go to spencerforman.com and use it as the source, I'll be able to connect to one or more sources. And in doing so, inside of the settings for the media hub of this library, I will likely have some degree of filtering or control that would allow you to, let's say, bulk edit or select and assign a tag to allow somebody to see these assets, but not other assets. That's my plan. Okay. All right. Let's bring this back to the factory level. When I'm showing you guys all of this stuff, I'm not going back to the soapbox, I promise. Let's look at the cost of doing business. All of the software, $6,500 to $7,000. Eliminating third-party services. You need a gateway. Stripe is awesome. You, in doing so, get the benefit of connecting to services like Metoric and otherwise, because you're going to go through WooCommerce. When you have all the software and all the tools and everything works together, and Spence is here taking suggestions from my amazing audience, I love you guys so much, about can it do this, can it do that? I can now build, like I just showed you, 3 custom plugins on top of Launch Flows, on top of LaunchKit, on top of whatever, where I can make, guess what? An oligarch-free platform. A lunatic-free platform, a humanistic platform, a way that I don't care what else you want to do with this. Change out the page builder, change out the thing. I don't care. But as long as you come to my Big Blue store with IKEA and Yellow Vest or my Lego store, you're going to get an experience that is a guaranteed human experience, a guaranteed Spence's name and face on it after 20 years and 40 something years of being an entrepreneur, 45 years. Well, 40, 58. Oh my God. 48 years. Okay. I've been doing this since I was a little kid, and this is all the same stuff. I am a kid in a candy store scratching my itch all day long, making stuff that makes sense with relationships that make sense. My good friend Curtis here, he was on the show with me yesterday with WP Tonic. We talked about what is the point of all of this existence? What is the point of this business? In my view of it, we have an infinite amount of cool stuff. We should all be using it together so that everybody's boat floats, everybody's water level rises, everybody's feeling of this is a great place to be and live rises, not crushing people. So if I can make it easier for you to succeed in a way that for inexpensively makes you money, makes your clients money, helps balance off the AI and all that stuff, then I feel like my job here is being done well. By the way, I can't avoid throwing this in because I love this. I can't do the audio, but I've been showing you, I'm using Minute Launch's recipes as an experimental proving ground of stuff. And what I've been doing lately is making these like crazy pages and other things to demonstrate what kind of stuff I can do. Everything from how you can make simple recipes of instructions to some of the crazier stuff was what I was demonstrating last week of these AI embedded engines and so forth. So I want to elaborate a little on this. So what I have a client that I'm doing some deep work with on their business. And one of the things that I did is I continued on with my experiments. Let me see if this is one of the pages or if I did a post. Hold on. I think it's here. Okay. So here's a page you can play around where I taking one of the client's products and so forth and making multitude of different AI solutions that would be useful for either a customer on your site or from your site, your client sites, but also for me, where let's say they're walking. I walk every day, driving, exercising. They just can't be reading on the screen. Wouldn't it be cool if they could have a conversation with Spence and they know it's not really me about all the stuff they need to know? Hey, Spence, what are you talking about? Explain that to me. And it could go into deeper meaning. But the point is, this is an example of me demonstrating a live thing. Spence, I know it's you. But you guys can go over and play with this stuff. I'm happy to let you play with it if you want. In the process, it's my voice. And so what we're experimenting with is different ways that on the back end or the front end, we can provide an interconnection with the tools of AI to not fool people into thinking that they're really talking to me, but rather to get an experience of what it would be like if I could have an ongoing conversation with Spence and go into deeper topics, or if Spence could recommend stuff to me, either via an email response or even talking live to me, like just immediately having access to everything that I need to know. And the way that we're able to achieve that is by not using the tools to pretend that like calling up a phone number and press 1, press 2 is real, but rather to use it in a way that just expands Spence's capability to service more human beings. And I think these are the kind of things that when you start to look at the pricing and the value proposition, here's where I share with you. You get it from me for virtually nothing, right? Whether it's the community or the hosting, or whether it's the office hours or the software, like you have access to basically this for yourself. But when you need it for your clients, you just sell the same thing I'm selling, double the price because you're the implementer, and then use me as your resource. Even I was on a sales call yesterday with one of my new customers to help him sell to a customer. It's like having the guy at IKEA sell the IKEA stuff, but your client is not being fooled that they're using the platform. You are being the implementer who has access to the time and desire and the Spence to get them what they want, so they can just talk to you. And you can then use my tools and solutions I baked like this to just give them things that, let's be honest, you go to a customer and say, you can create a site like this that has all this content, all these capabilities, the CRM, the marketing, the reporting, the AI integration. Their brains explode because they think it's going to be $1 million, 150, 250,000. And you go, no, it's, starts at $194 a month for the platform and myself. And then you can pay me a la carte for doing hands-on work, 300 here, 600 there, 2,500 there. Next thing you know, they're like, let's go. Let's go. And then you never have to lose sleep because I am always at your beck and call because you've committed to the work of using the minute launch. Instead of being an asshole and going off and throwing a bunch of crazy stuff in there, or giving into using 4,000 ingredients that you happen to have laying around and making it hard on yourself, you simply say, you know what? Today, I'm going to be not like this. I'm not going to create any more Frankenstein monsters. I'm not going to have shiny ball syndrome because Spence has enough credibility, enough people, and enough right here to show me that I could just buy in money back guarantee on everything other than the personal support to a system that has everything I ever dreamed of, plus a person behind it that is not going to take me and my client down. It's 10:58. I want to say I am having an amazing amount of good luck with a lot of things that you see and hear coming out of my mouth. I think mind over matter. I think approaching solutions instead of approaching problems. I think that avoiding and going around people that have lost their humanity, lost their sensibility, lost their ability to realize we're all in this thing together, life, is my way of healing myself mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. I've never had a problem making money ever. Hopefully that comes through. But man, I have had 29 years of drama. And for you and me and everyone else, awesome. Thank you, Bernie. For you and everyone else, you have my pledge looking you right in the eye. If you've not talked to me personally, you sign up for Launch Kit, commit to $97 plus maybe a little time with me. I will demonstrate and show you and hand you a thing for your own business or for your clients that will make you money if you will simply do the work, if you will simply just use the stuff, because the things that people will pay you for now have nothing to do with the gimmicks and toys. They have to do with the fact that you come ready to turn on and install and connect the toys. It's the Christmas lights. It's the Hanukkah candles. It's the leaf cleaning out of the gutter. It's the snow removal. It's the stuff that people don't want to do because they just want to get on with their life and they're inundated. So join me. Go to wplaunchify.com, click subscribe for the Launch Kit bundle or a la carte, and we're going to have one hell of a fun year. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you on the next video.